Today I'm going to talk a bit about our artificial intelligence platform called iNotify and how it can help reduce gun violence. So a bit of background. iNotify has a wide variety of applications, and it can be used by public and private entities of any size. What I'm going to talk about today is just one specific example use case of what iNotify can be used for. So I want this to be very clear to all of you. For that, we're going to use an example. Most of you are familiar with the smart cities concept. These are cities with very capable networks. Now, what I mean by that is that they have high bandwidth and low latency wired and wireless networks. They also deploy a wide range of sensors over a Got it? Yeah, over a geographically distributed area. So they're using lots of sensors all throughout their city. Now, examples of sensors, you're all familiar with IoT. So you may have sensors that detect weather, air quality, river flood sensors, traffic sensors, that sort of thing. Today, we're going to focus on public safety related sensors, specifically audio and video devices, for example, CCTV. Now, before I really get started, I cannot stress this more. What I'm going over right now is an example of what we can do. So this is what you're about to see is going to be one component of an interchangeable plug-and-play platform. Now, the example. Let's say you are all smart cities. So as smart cities, you have, let's see. Awesome, thanks. As smart cities, you are at the forefront of crisis mitigation and emergency response. And your response times are at their historical best. Whenever there is a shooting, say in inner cities, public places, or workplaces, your administration, your infrastructure, and your law enforcement are all ready to respond. Your response times are at their best, but that is only after those incidents are reported to you. The problem is that suspicious activities don't always get reported quickly enough, and sometimes not at all. So this is the problem that iNotify solves. iNotify is an AI platform that is able to send its authorized users alerts the instant a gun is detected in live video feed. In other words, it provides real-time intelligence, enabling first responders to prevent fatalities, decrease response times, and quickly identify victims and their needs. Imagine this. Imagine a would-be shooter accidentally displays his gun too early in a public place. Whoops, wrong slide. Can we go back one there? Thanks. Imagine a would-be shooter accidentally displays his gun too early in a public place. Now, he hasn't used the gun yet, and it's only been displayed for a few seconds. So besides the CCTV footage, only, let's say, 2 other witnesses have noticed this. Now, more likely than not, one of those 2 witnesses will not report it or do anything about it. Now, it's likely that maybe one of them may report the sighting to 911. At that point, police have one option: send someone to investigate. So let's say they dispatch a nearby police officer as an investigative measure and to just take a necessary precaution. Now, though our witness's report was valid, our police officer has limited options because she doesn't have the hard evidence that she needs to act decisively. Now, imagine this. Let's say that as soon as that gun became visible, iNotify instantaneously alerted our police officer that a wielded gun was nearby. Now she has all the information that she needs to act decisively. That is because as soon as that gun becomes visible, she receives a picture of the wielded gun and the perpetrator. Now she's on to him before he even has a chance to fire a shot. That is what iNotify makes possible. Let's take a look at how this works on our system. So first, we're going to look at a normal situation where there are no guns detected. We're looking at a video of a live stream that iNotify is being fed, and we can see here there are no guns in this video at all. So when we open up the iNotify mobile app, we see a green indicator in the upper right-hand corner, and that indicator tells us that everything is okay. No wielded guns have been detected. All right. Now, in addition to what you're seeing in the app, we have a few other pieces of information that are important here. On the video screen you're seeing there, we have multiple tabs. In this case, we have two, iNotify One Live and iNotify Dallas. So we're able to switch between video streams since iNotify is able to analyze multiple video streams at once. The important thing here is that we can do more than two video streams. We can scale up quite well. We can scale up quite well because we are distributed and we can work with pretty much any cloud infrastructure quite easily. Now if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Now on this slide, we're going to see how iNotify would work when guns are detected. So you're seeing in this video that someone is wielding a gun, and as soon as that happens, our indicator in the upper right-hand corner turns red, and we get a consistent, continuous stream of updates telling us what's happening in the video. Now you're seeing there that we're able to do messaging in the app. I'll come to that in a minute. But first, take note that this is an Android phone. The previous one was an iPhone. We're just showing that the iNotify app is cross-compatible on different platforms. Right. Also note, this works without anyone actually watching the video. So this video is here to give you a type of intuition about what's going on behind the scenes. iNotify automatically and instantaneously detects wielded weapons in the stream so that you go about your regular day and your device chimes with an alert only when it needs to be alerted. All right. Speaking of the text messages, iNotify is not just a one-way messaging platform. So in an emergency situation, time is of the essence. And that means we don't want our users having to switch back and forth between, say, our app and some other app for communication purposes. So what we do here is we allow users to, within the app, message each other. And that makes sure that, yes, we have AI to human communication going on in the app, but in the exact same place, on that exact same app, we also have human-to-human communication happening also. Last few things about this slide. First, in the right-hand corner of the video, you're seeing a clock. That is a camera time. So anyone looking at this video on our platform, they're able to tell when the camera has taken this footage, and they know with just a glance that it's not delayed, if at all. On the opposite side, the left-hand side, we have another counter going. That is our server time. So how long has our server been running and analyzing video? We have had this run for months on end. Lastly, you can see that after a gun has been detected, iNotify is determining the appearance of the person. So things like their estimated age and their estimated gender and appearance as well. We're going to focus on that on a slide a few minutes from now. Next slide, please. Awesome. So this is the core functionality of iNotify. iNotify provides you with the what, when, where, and how of a situation as it is unfolding. So how does that happen? The what is that someone is wielding a gun. Our AI identifies that in the video frame and annotates the frame for us, sends us that picture so that we know what's going on. The where. Within the app, we have a map that shows the user's location relative to the location of the shooting. So wherever you are in the world, you know your location relative to the shooter. The when. You're going to see a timestamp in the lower left-hand corner there. That timestamp tells you when the picture has been taken and when our AI has determined all this intelligence from the photograph. Finally, the how. You can see how events are unfolding from the picture that is sent to you through our mobile app. So iNotify aggregates all of this intelligence, giving police officers an unprecedented advantage in making those split-second decisions without hesitation. So what you're seeing here is that it's not just a text message. Yes, from the text message to the map, to the timestamp, to the photograph, we're giving you some extremely rich information and intelligence from this. In an emergency situation, such as an active shooting, your need does not just stop at reporting the incident. Real-time information, by its very nature, needs to keep up with events in progress. This is where the command and control dashboard comes in. So the command and control dashboard is not for the average user. It is for people in leadership, people in command and control. It allows authorized users to aggregate all the relevant information about the situation in one place. Also, it allows authorized users to collaborate in real time with their team members, as long as they are authorized to log into the console. So they can send messages on the very same screen that they're receiving intelligence from our AI, and they will also receive back messages from their collaborators. Take note, again, that this is not facial recognition. iNotify describes a summary of the shooter's appearance. So just as if there were a human witness on the ground describing to law enforcement in real time what the shooter looks like, iNotify doesn't tell the shooter's name, but it can summarize their appearance, such as age and gender. Next slide, please. iNotify is ready for production pilots. We aim to reuse your existing processes, the ones that you already have in place, and integrate with your existing infrastructure. And if you don't have the hardware required for that, we can provision that as well. So we provide the iNotify app on any mobile device you can think of, and the command and control console gives you informational control of the situation. One really important note here is that most of this information you're seeing is about 6 to 12 months old. That is because we are a startup. We move incredibly fast, so these slides did not keep up with what we are currently working on. Next slide, please. Cognitive intelligence. We are currently working on cognitive intelligence. That's our current focus, from the back end to the middleware to the front end of our system. We're putting that into place in our current deployments in stealth mode. If you're interested in cognitive intelligence, in working in AI, reach out to us. We would love to have a chat with you. Next slide, please. All right, collaborators. We are currently investigating working with partners in the public sector, as you can see there. We are also, what's missing from this slide is we are also looking and investigating pilot implementations with private entities as well. So we are looking for team members, collaborators. If you're interested in working in AI as a career, or if you're interested in contributing to funding for this, please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. Next slide, please. All right, so these next slides get a little bit technical. I'm going to go a bit quick on them because we're running short on time. So this is a quick overview of the information flow of how raw data gets fed into iNotify and then is sent back out to the users in a usable format. So we have the input devices that capture information, send those to our artificial intelligence agents. We're calling them notification agents, and all of that information is sent to a centralized emergency notification server. That server takes into account users' roles and responsibilities and the intelligence from our AI agents and decides who to send out notifications to. Next slide, please. Here's a little bit on our infrastructure. If you're very interested in what's going on there, we can have a chat offline about that. Next slide, please. And then again, this is our software stack. This is going to be a little out of date because there's a lot of stuff happening currently that we're not putting on the slides here. Next slide, please. All right, we, in order to get to this point, we had a lot of help from EOS Ignite, their Smart Cities Reverse Pitch, the City of Richardson, the University of Texas at Dallas. But I would especially like to thank the Big Data and AI Conference, its organizers, Amanda and Sunny, and all of you for attending. Thank you very much. Yes, go.
Does the iNotify app need to be up and running with the camera pointed at the potential crime scene in order for the proper information to be identified and sent? And does it garner data from sources other than the phone?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this question is, does the iNotify app need to be up and running in order for it to receive information? And does your cameras have to be pointed at that scene to receive that information as well? So the iNotify app, the mobile app, will receive notifications whether it's in the background, closed off. You'll receive a push notification type thing, like a text message. So you don't have to be looking at that app all the time to look for if you're receiving notifications. The server is always running and maintaining a steady state that makes sure that everything stays real time. The second part of your question about does the camera need to be pointed at the scene? So if we are only using cameras to derive the intelligence, then whatever's in the scene is what we will get intelligence from. If something is out of the frame of the camera, just like a human actually looking at the camera frame, they won't see what's going on out of the frame. Yes, another question?
So, when you said you're ready to apply that school project, iNotify, that's your first instantiation of the cognitive intelligence. What are those, which timetable do you have? Police departments, cities, identify a short list for those things?
Yeah, so we're currently working with quite a few cities who have sensor data that they're collecting, but they're not necessarily actively or in real time acting upon that sensor data. So that's one area. There are also quite a few companies that are interested in deriving intelligence using the iNotify platform. So like I said, this is an example about detecting guns in video. However, this can do a lot more than that. So if I haven't mentioned anything here, it's not a limitation of the app. It's just that I haven't mentioned it here. So those companies are more interested in not necessarily detecting guns, but in other types of data analysis.
Question, good presentation. You talked about the relative position of the first responder from a shooter. Is that, can the app say that, are you right behind the shooter when the shooter is facing the other way? Can that be done? Can that have sent to a police officer and saying that, okay, the shooter is facing that way, and you are like currently behind his vision? Shooter.
Yeah, so you can definitely get your position relatively behind, if you're behind the shooter or not, and you can send that information to any relevant party who needs that. Getting extremely granular, though, is not what was being shown on that slide there. That slide was showing, say, if you're anywhere in the world, you're a parent of a student, and you want to know what's going on in their school. That's sort of what it was showing. You had a question?
How would the platform handle participation around really good
So, can you repeat the question? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, that's a great question, right? I'm going to make the distinction here between guns that we as humans would recognize are toy guns or replicas, and guns that would fool just us, even though they may not be real guns, but they are replicas, but they would actually fool humans. So we would be able to filter basically along those lines. Any replica that is obviously a toy gun would be found, but not alerted because it's not a real gun. Any gun that is a convincing facsimile of a real gun may end up registering on the system. In those cases, where iNotify is generally being used, for example, schools, healthcare facilities, those types of facsimile guns are also banned. So that becomes, that's something you would want to know anyway. I think we have time for one more question. How are we on time? Okay, gotcha.
So it's a great idea. What is the false positive rate of your justice?
Sorry?
False positive rate. Like, there is a gun, but it is still not modified.
Oh, gotcha. So that's a really good question. If you have looked at other models and assessed their false positive, actually I have done this. So I looked at a separate model by another company, and what I found is that whenever I held up a cell phone, that was mistaken for a gun. So that's the type of thing we're looking to avoid. We don't want a false positive when someone's just talking on the phone. So what we're doing, and this plays into working with cognitive intelligence, is taking into account what's the context around the situation where the supposed gun is being wielded. Is someone aiming it, or are they holding it to their ear and talking about it?
The situation is more serious if the intent is more significant, right? So there is a real gun, but the system is not modifying because it is not recognized that one may be possibly here somewhere, right? It is recognized that one has a boy gun. So if it is a more sensitive, what's the acceptance rate for more sensitive?
Gotcha. So a good rule of thumb here, because it depends a bit on the resolution of your camera and the distance of the camera from your focal point, what you're trying to find. But a good rule of thumb is that if you, as a human, can recognize that that's a gun, then our system's going to catch that as well. All right, thank you very much.